I've played Animal Crossing New Horizons every day for 5 years. Since March 20th, 2020, I have taken the time every day to sit down, boot up my island, and play. The game has arguably been the most consistent center of the most tumultuous half-decade of my life. This charming, slow-paced life sim has taken my spherical hand and guided me through the past 5 years. This game is so special to me. I've never had a game quite like this that I've made time to play every day. No game before or since has become a part of my daily schedule. Sure, I'll often make time to play games in my day, but my Animal Crossing chores are different. Every day I pull up weeds, dig for fossils, collect shells, water plants, talk to neighbors, drink my morning coffee, and relax to the sound of waves crashing into the shores. This has become a part of my daily routine. Now, if rumors are to be believed, a new Animal Crossing game will come early into the life of the Switch too. I think that's really exciting. After all, Animal Crossing New Horizons became one of the best-selling games of all time. Over 45 million people have bought this game. It was a phenomenon when it launched, and it's still a huge cultural touchpoint today. It came at the perfect time. As the world descended into viral chaos, Animal Crossing came to guide us all into a tranquil world of peaceful, regular routine. I, and tens of millions of people like me, came to greatly appreciate this. But as true as this is, there's also something about Animal Crossing that always makes me think. It's a purely Xanatos attempt to leave the real world behind. This was true the day it was released, and it remains true 5 years later. I've got a complicated relationship with this game, and I'd like to explore it. Today is the 5-year anniversary of Animal Crossing New Horizons, and I want to chat with you guys about the game. This is going to be a bit of a relaxed retrospective, I guess. We'll talk about the game, take a tour of what it has to offer, and maybe trace a path through existentialism to talk about why this game is so meaningful and what kinds of emotions it evokes. Let's get started, shall we? I'm Volcarinite, and yeah, you heard me right. I've played Animal Crossing New Horizons every day for 5 years. So, my alarm's just gone off. It's either woken me from what was surely a brief, restless slumber, or it's startled me from the other room where I've been working through the night. I don't sleep very well or very often. Nevertheless, it's time for a new day. I grumble at nothing in particular, then trudge myself over to my altar of worship, the coffee machine. I brew and drink. There's something special about your first sip of coffee in the morning that even now, even 15 years of daily coffee drinking later, I still can't get over. It's woken me up just enough to wander over to the couch where I'll reach for my controller, only to remember I was recording on the Switch last night, so it's still plugged into my computer. I debate the merits of going to grab it now or waiting just 5 more minutes, but quickly I get bored, so I go and grab the Switch and return to the television. I plop back down on the couch, grab the controller, and launch my morning routine. The soft glow of resident services greets me, as does Isabel. She announces the date and time and gives me the news. Oh, today she's found a sock that she lost. How compelling. She smiles, and then it's me. Well, it's Vesta anyway. Welcome to Solace. It's time to do my chores. I grab my ladder and trek south to begin my fossil and weed path. Everyone must have one of these, their preferred path around their island that hits all of the spots where your 4 fossils, 2 weeds, and, if it rained yesterday, 2 gyroids might spawn. Mine takes me to the northwest bank of the river, elevated to split the island in thirds. I take the bend, then begin to make my way around the pond, through the forest, and down to the lawns of my neighbors. I'll say hi to whoever's around. Oh, look, it's Cranston today. Apparently he was in my dreams. I'm pretty sure he's sentient, like if Monica from Doki Doki Literature Club had Wheatley attached to her. Anyway, I'll move to the fruit tree farm, then through my vegetable farm and to the southeast bank of the river. By now, I've almost always found everything I need to. Next, I collect my shells. The crashing of the waves against the shore is so relaxing that it almost counters the caffeine I'm currently drinking. But it's so soothing and authentic that I'm listening no matter what. I never miss it. I slowly work my way down the beach, picking up the shells and coral, the message in the bottle, not helping the most useless, ill-inspired bird in all of fiction, and overall working to keep Solace clean. My stroll along the beach has been as productive as it has been uplifting. Now it's time to get my fossils checked. I always end in the northeast corner of the island, not far from the museum, so I go in and talk to Blathers. He drools over my fossils as usual, but the fossil wing of the museum has been complete for years, so I don't have anything for him. I then engage in the most meta experience of the session. I go get coffee. Brewster always has a fresh pot going for me, no matter what time of day I'm coming in to see him. I love when others are visiting the roost. I drink deep, gym the camera, and then depart for my final daily stop. Nook's Cranny. I've collected a whole bunch of stuff. Sometimes I'll take this opportunity to sift through crafting materials and resources I want to save, but not today. I sell everything I've picked up to the twins. It's not even about the money anymore. I've got more than I'll ever need. It's just a habit at this point. And that's it. That's my chores done for the day, usually in 15 minutes or less. If I'm in a real rush, I have been known to get it down to 8 minutes depending on weed and fossil spots. This habit of chores is so regular and mundane that you might wonder why it is I ritualize this activity every day. I mean, why not ritualize doing chores in my real life home? Or why waste the time at all if I already know how it's gonna go? 15 minutes isn't a lot of time, but it's much more than nothing. Why not read a book or take a walk or play some other game? What is it about Animal Crossing New Horizons that has caused me to make playing it an integral part of my day? I've spent 1,200 hours playing this game. Without a doubt, it's the single longest playtime I've ever had in a game. It's not my favorite game of all time. In fact, I don't think it would find a spot in my top 10. I actually thought about it. I've got a semi-completed script for my top 10 games lying around, and every time I look at it, I always consider whether Animal Crossing New Horizons deserves a place on it. But inevitably, I decide against it. Why? Well, to find out, I nuked my island. Okay, not really. I borrowed my brother's Switch. Thanks, Rye. But I started a new island. Here, let me introduce you to Volk. He's the island rep for this Subscribe Island. I started this new island to try and recapture whatever it was that so attracted me to this game 5 years ago. I knew that so much of it was down to timing, but there's a reason that this game worked to fill the hole for me. But what was it? Alright, here we are. It's the very first day. We're setting up our camps, we're setting up a bonfire, we're dining on pears. Yes, it's a pear island. I was disappointed too. All of this is just me wandering around, going from place to place, setting down stuff and picking up other stuff. As it turns out, the majority of the early game is just wandering around, grabbing stuff at your own pace. After that first bonfire, KK Slider brings us back to real time. Fuchsia, Curly, and I are on our own. It's time to get started. I've learned to chop trees, pick up sticks, and smack rocks, and I've been given a mission: pay off my home. To do this, I have to make money, selling creatures I don't need, collecting seashells, crafting raw resources into lucrative furniture. I also have to improve my town. There's lots of animals around that want to move to a new island and get started on an idyllic life of leisure, but there's only one human that can make that happen. I spend my time strolling around, gathering the natural resources that I need to make my island better. This is the pace of the game then. Every day you wander around, grabbing the stuff that you need and doing your chores. Your progress through the game can be measured inversely on how long it takes you to do everything you need. On those first few days, I could spend an hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes even more doing chores. There's a lot more to do in the early game. There are plenty of goals laid out for you. Pay off your home mortgage, build up your stockpile of resources, design and expand your island, catch wild critters, get new villagers. It's a network of tasks that grows from the very simple core of wandering around, picking up the stuff that you need. Along with the game's tasks, I had a goal of my own. I wanted to get blue roses. If you know anything about flower breeding in this game, you know that it's a wild ride to get blue roses. Gotta follow a very specific and bizarre chain of crossbreeding. So, along with my game set chores of every day, I found the time to water my roses. I also love to have a little veggie farm on the island. It wasn't really an option when I first played through the game, since most of the crops didn't get added to New Horizons until the update that came out in late 2021, almost 2 years after the game launched. Still, it was fun to do this sort of naturally. It gave me a reason to keep visiting Cabin and go to those more exotic islands. Just as a tangent, I always thought a fun little minigame side mode would have been to go to one of these islands with empty pockets and get a goal item that you have to craft. Like, oh, go to the island, your ticket off is an ironwood dresser. I don't know how well this would have worked in reality, but I think it's a neat idea. Anyway, slowly, over days and weeks, I completed the tasks laid out for me. The local shop got built, as did the museum. I crossed the rivers, then built bridges for others to do the same. My home expanded until it was done. I actually still haven't gotten those blue roses, but I will. The list of things I needed to do to make Subscribe better, measured by Isabel's star rating, started getting shorter. KK Slider visited for his inaugural performance on the island. More people moved in. I I got a tailor's shop, a coffee shop, 10 neighbors. Eventually, I may even get 5 stars and start seeing lilies of the valley. I'll get that blue rose, damn it. But playing through it the second time, I wasn't getting that same rush of escapism that I did when I played it for the first time way back in 2020. Reliving the beginning of the game for a second time makes me feel the same way I do each morning when I boot up Solus, my original island, and take care of my chores. It's what's gotta be done. Well, I also feel an emotion that I was not expecting. Animal Crossing is depressing. Look, I genuinely love this game. Wild World, the Nintendo DS entry in the series, was so influential to my childhood that my dad, whose favorite video game is genuinely the Coleco handheld electronic quarterback, still remembers Tom Nook the Crook. I mean, he actually remembers his kids playing the game. That's how much it means to me. Enough that my dad noticed and remembers 2 decades later. But here, 20 years after that game's release and 5 years after New Horizons, I can see that my 2 original Animal Crossing experiences were soaked through with the drive of escapism. The series draws its power from being a slow-acting escape. You can't just min-max through like Stardew Valley or creative mode through like Minecraft. No, you're linked to real time in the real world. You can walk through this portal for a little while, but you can't be sucked in forever. This does 2 things to me. The first is that it's able to subconsciously scratch the productivity itch in a way that video games usually can't. Because I've incorporated this game into my day, because it's become a habit, it feels like something that I need to get done each day, like taking out the trash or folding my laundry or going to work. It's something that I have to do. It'll take a few minutes, but if I ever skip it, it'll just pile up. Now, this of course misses the point of most productivity, the negative effects of not doing it. If I don't take my trash out, my house will be full of garbage. If I don't go to work, my house will become someone else's as I become homeless. The quiet exchange of actual productivity is that you sacrifice your time for your life. Getting paid means that you can afford food and clothes and housing. Being clean means your stuff lasts longer and is more pleasant. Doing your homework means passing your classes and getting your master's. Productivity is an exchange. Except in Animal Crossing, I don't get the other side of that exchange. Pulling up weeds doesn't do anything. Fossils aren't meaningful. Cranston isn't real, probably. All this stuff does is maintain the island in the exact same state. Which brings us to the second thing that this game does to me. It makes me realize that being productive is a subconscious, ultimately futile attempt to keep things exactly as they are forever. In Animal Crossing, this can work. If you pick your weeds, collect your fossils, and talk to your neighbors, you can make it so that the only thing that ever changes is the date that Isabelle announces every morning. You can live the same 15 minutes, the same day, the same week, over and over again, forever. At least in the game. But confronting this truth forces me to look at the parallel. Productivity in the real world doesn't work. I'm not the only actor in my world. Arguably, I'm not even the most influential. Unlike in Animal Crossing, I don't have the option of reshaping my world on a whim. And, unlike in Animal Crossing, I might want to do that for non-frivolous reasons. The reason that this game worked so well in the context of its release is that, for a lot of people, their personal worlds had shrunk considerably. In March of 2020, the bounds of most people's worlds were the walls of their home. So for a few months, Animal Crossing was a truly significant part of the world. If your island was on your screen, you could very well just be there. Your real world was being held in stasis, and your island was growing and changing rapidly, as it does in the early game. Being productive early on in Animal Crossing is something that you can visibly watch and accomplish for a while. Because eventually, stuff stops changing. Your island is as pretty as you care to make it, you've got your villagers and their homes, and Isabelle stops talking about new buildings and starts talking about movie reruns on television. There eventually becomes nothing to do in the game but maintain the status quo. And this happened pretty much exactly as the real world started adjusting to the new normal of pandemic life. The wheels of society started turning again. It was harder, it was worse, a lot of people were unjustly hurt in the process, and more effort was required from almost everybody to keep their normal going. But as the escapism of Animal Crossing faded, the struggle of real life was revealed. Replaying the game without the context of the pandemic meant that I saw the game without the veil. And all that work going into the eventual payoff of eternal stasis evoked only one emotion in me: sadness. An eternal, longing sadness. Animal Crossing is a window into a utopia that is just realistic enough to see the shortcomings in the real world and just limited enough to force players to either yearn for the fourth wall to close behind them or to give it up forever. Your life will never be as easy as Vesta's. My life will never be that easy. There's no end to the chain of responsibilities. There's no paying off your last home loan. There's no finishing the museum. There's no making all of your money from beachcombing. In the real world, I'll be working for as long as I can. When I'm done working, for whatever reason that may be, that's the end. Stasis doesn't exist, and time carries on whether I like it or not. This likely won't surprise anybody at this point in the video, but I spent some time as a philosophy major in undergrad. I had an influential philosophy teacher in high school, so for a little while, I was inspired to continue down the path. I was always particularly fascinated by existentialism and morality. Why are we? What is right? How do we know what good is? I think that Animal Crossing offers an answer for these questions for those who are willing to pay attention. It says that we exist in a society with good, caring people. We owe these people, all of them, some effort and maintenance. We need to spend some time doing work to keep everything as it is, or maybe even try to make it a little better. But at some point, that debt will be paid. When that happens, then so long as we don't make things worse through neglect, we are free to live as we want. This idyllic egalitarianism is what makes the escapism of the series so compelling. It's also what makes the shortcomings of this idea in the real world so obvious and so depressing. I have no reason to believe that I won't be playing an Animal Crossing game every day for the rest of my life. In my head, the taste of my first sip of coffee in the morning sounds like the New Horizons jingle. That's not going anywhere. Playing Animal Crossing in the morning wakes me up, gives me a routine. But I also have to confront the fact that Animal Crossing won't ever be something fun. Animal Crossing is an escape that's just real enough to keep me from truly escaping. It's a lens for the world, my real world. That's why I can't put this game on my favorites list, that's why I can't move on with my day without doing my in-game chores, and that's why I can't ever let it go. Thanks so much for watching this little retrospective review. I promise that I didn't intend for it to get this depressing when I started. I didn't really know what I was going to end up with when I decided to do a 5-year retrospective on the game, and this script was a chance to do a whole lot of introspection on this game's importance to me and my life. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe and check out one of my other videos. I just posted a video on new Mega Evolutions for Pokemon Legends ZA that you're sure to love. Give it a watch. But that's all I have for you today, so enjoy your day and take care.